Okay, we're back. So what you hopefully saw was my ideas for squares on point, or just echoing squares with lines out, and then the variations that I thought. So what I've decided to do in the essence of time is to just go with the squares, normal squares, and then lines echoing. And then figure out something nice for the border. Maybe squares on point or something like that. We'll figure that out, okay? What we have since realised though in our search, I spoke to my partner who is not colourblind, and I don't have the binding that I showed you earlier is not the right colour. So it's not the binding for this quilt. I have no idea at all what that binding is for. This is what happens when you don't keep things organised together in one bag. So I don't have that, and then I did find the red scraps that I showed you earlier, which are the same colour as the red in this quilt. They just are covered in white fluff, so they don't really look like it is to me. I don't have anywhere near enough to even get binding for half of these quilts out of it. And everything else I have left does not go. I don't have any of this colour, I don't have any of that colour, I don't have enough of this red. I can remember where I got the fabric from, and I have an account, so I'm hoping that if I log in and go back 5-6 years that the fabric will still be there, or maybe I have an email telling me what colour these are. I think it might be red wine, that seems to ring a bell, or it could just be because I quite fancy a glass of red wine. However, we're just going to have to wait and see. But that's a problem for another video. This video is just about getting this quilting finished, okay? So this is still the first day since we started, so actually we could probably get quite far in the next half an hour if we just stop talking and start sewing. So again, everything is before, nice long thread tail, 10 inches probably, so I've got plenty to tie off in, and we're going to start mirroring those squares. So we're going to find where we started the last square, which is here. I'm going to start. I've got a combination of stitch in the ditch lines and drawn on chalk lines. So to make it easier on myself, again, I'm starting on a stitch in the ditch line to give me a reference. This has a combination of stitch in the ditch and drawn on lines. So I'm choosing to start here because there's a nice easy seam that goes here and a nice easy seam that runs here. So it makes a T shape. So starting right there, right in the corner, that makes it nice and easy for me to start at least semi-straight and hopefully end up semi-straight. And behind it, for when I finish off the square, I have a big long chalk line drawn in here, which is very, very faint, but it will at least give me something to try and follow when I come back, because this is a big area with no stitch in the ditch lines to try and stay straight. So I'm just going to line my needle up with that corner. Lovely. Press your foot down. Still can't find my, what do you call them? Quilting gloves. I just have to get a pair of rubber gloves, but onwards. I'm stopping just to look ahead to where I'm going because I don't want to fly off. I'm heading just to this bit here, so we've got about 3.5 inches to go. And this one's tricky because I don't have any reference points here. I've just got the corner of a stitch in the ditch. So I'm just going to check. And by sheer fluke, I actually landed straight in the stitch in the ditch. So press the foot up, pivot the quilt. The weight of the quilt is now on the floor. So we're picking the weight up so that it's on me so that we don't end up squint, because this is a long seam. This is probably about 24 to 30 inches long. So this is a long seam to try and keep straight. Press the foot down. We've got stitch in the ditch, then we've got line, then more stitch in the ditch, and then line. So we've got hopefully quite a lot of references to keep us straight. There's a safety pin there which we'll move when we get to it. And let's go. Now when I am on a stitch in the ditch seam, this presser foot, which you can't really see, but it has a little notch right in the middle of it. And I'm just trying to keep this the seam line on that little notch because it's keeping me right. And I'm also looking ahead to see how much further I've got to go down so we don't overshoot it. We've got about 12 inches maybe. Okay, so now this is a long section coming up here. You can't see it because it's off camera, but this is a long section with just a tiny little bit in the middle to get me back on track. So we're going to have to take this nice and slow and hope that we make it. Back on the stitch in the ditch line, that's good. Now the bulk of the weight is actually up here. So this is moving really easy here. There's no weight, I mean there's literally just that here. So there's no weight at all pulling on it. So the dual feed foot is doing all the work now. I'm not having to hold weight. Coming to the end of this line, so we're aiming again for a corner stitch. Good, corner of the seam. Pivot. Press it down, and the weight is over here now. So we're just going to try and keep it, the bulk of the weight up here and on my lap, whilst keeping it straight so that it doesn't pull us to the side, okay? Okay, so again, we have now an even longer section to straight line down, and this has no reference point midway because of the way that the log cabins are laid out. So there are some chalk lines. Let's just hope that I drew them straight. So there is a little reference coming up, so let's hope we make it. Yeah, we made it, that was good. That was either pure skill or sheer luck. My money's on luck. Okay, so we're coming to the end now, so we're coming down to this corner here. So we've got about 4 inches to go. It's all stitch in the ditch. Now that was pretty good. I knew I was on the line because I could see little puffs of chalk every time the needle pierced the fabric. There was a little puff of chalk, so we knew that we were on the line. There is a safety pin here, but it's not going to be in our way, so we're just going to leave it just now. We're going to pivot the quilt again. The good thing is that the bulk of the weight is still on the table, and a little bit in my lap. It's keeping me warm in the middle of summer. So off we go. Again, this, and I think this is going to be the theme as we go, there are less and less stitch in the ditch lines to keep me right. So relying on chalk lines from the design that we're no longer doing, and sheer luck. Oh look, we're back to the start. So we're coming back to the start. We're praying that we're going to meet up. It is a chalk line, so fingers crossed that we've actually done this correctly. Have we done it? Yeah, we made it. A couple of stitches just to lock it in, and again, I'm not going to cut the threads using the thread cutter because I want a long thread to knot and hide. I'm just going to put the needle up, press the foot up, gently pull out to the side, and I'm going to give myself about 8 inches of thread. Snip, and then underneath, snip. Lovely. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm just going to get on with this, and I'll just show a fast montage. This time though, because this is a huge big long seam with no reference points. So I'm actually going to start in a corner this time because there is a stitch in the ditch seam here that will hopefully get me off on the right track. So I'm just going to make sure that I've got nice long thread to start, a nice long thread underneath. So we got ourselves into a little bit of trouble. The top thread is fine, but the bottom thread, because it wasn't pulled out far enough to the side, the machine has pulled it in and it's made a bird's nest on the back with a little tail. So we're going to have to try and fix that when we're finished. The stitch length is fine, it hasn't gone wonky, we're okay, but it has pulled me away from the line a little bit as the machine crunched it. So these things happen, that's why it's important to make sure things are right before you start. Now that bit there was tricky because the seams on the log cabin block did not line up. They were slightly off by about a 1/16 of an inch. So in that kind of instance, you just have to wing it and just stitch slightly over to make it work, because otherwise there's no real way to fix that. And so that's why accurate piecing is important. So from the looks of it, as we get to the end and we're ready to pivot, this is going to be our second last square because this next line comes into the border and I don't want to start quilting out into the border with these squares. So one more lap round, I've finished this square, one more lap round, and then it's just going to be straight lines backwards and forwards. So actually we're going to be done with this very quickly.